Are you enjoying seeing your sons step up to the moment and the whole family concept?
Bro,
No,
that? I don't. I don't enjoy it. I do not. Simply because I've spent so much time trying to get this little nigga off the ledge.
You talking about King?
Yes. And now he has justifiable means to undo all of the teachings that I've been teaching.
Got it.
I do not like this. No, I do not.
T.I. recently spoke out with raw emotion about his son, King Harris, getting involved in a heated hip-hop feud linked to 50 Cent. T.I. criticized King for crossing a serious line by visiting 50 Cent's mother's grave. For T.I., it's more than rap drama, it's about respect, legacy, and watching his son ignore the values he tried to teach. The hurt in his voice shows a deeper struggle between fatherhood, reputation, and the harsh culture of rap conflict. Let me explain this entire drama step by step. T.I. was once considered one of the most respected figures in Southern hip-hop. Known as a pioneer of trap music, he helped build a powerful cultural movement that stretched far beyond Atlanta and influenced artists across the entire industry. Through his label Grand Hustle Entertainment, T.I. worked to turn Atlanta into a major hub for hip-hop while establishing himself as the self-proclaimed king of the South. His reputation wasn't built overnight. It came from years of music success, business deals, and a strong connection to the streets that shaped his image. But now, decades later, a new chapter of drama has pulled his family into the spotlight. His son, King Harris, recently stepped into a heated situation involving one of hip-hop's most controversial figures, 50 Cent. What started years ago as a rivalry between two major rap stars has now evolved into something much deeper, touching issues of legacy, respect, and family reputation. To really understand why T.I. reacted so strongly to his son's involvement, you have to go back to the early 2000s. At that time, the hip-hop industry was still heavily dominated by artists from New York. Legends like Jay-Z, Nas, and the Notorious B.I.G. had shaped what many people believed real hip-hop was supposed to sound like. The East Coast was seen as the cultural center of the genre, while artists from the South often had to fight much harder to gain the same level of respect. T.I. was one of the leaders of that Southern movement. He believed Atlanta deserved recognition as a powerhouse in hip-hop. By the early 2000s, he had already released several projects and was pushing a new sound that would eventually become known as trap music. Songs about street life, hustling, and survival resonated with fans across the South. As his influence grew, he created Grand Hustle Entertainment and began signing artists, building a business empire that went far beyond just music. At the same time, 50 Cent was rising rapidly in New York. After surviving a near-fatal shooting in 2000, he returned to the music scene with unstoppable momentum. His debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin', became a cultural phenomenon, selling hundreds of thousands of copies in its first week and turning him into one of the most powerful figures in rap. With his crew gun it behind him, 50 Cent quickly became known not only for his music, but also for his aggressive personality and willingness to engage in public rivalries. Initially, there was a level of respect between T.I. and 50 Cent. Both men had similar backgrounds in many ways. They had experienced real street struggles before entering the music industry, and they understood the importance of business as much as music. They weren't just rappers, they were entrepreneurs trying to build brands that could last for decades. However, in hip-hop, respect can quickly turn into competition. Around 2004 and 2005, both artists were reaching massive commercial peaks. T.I. had released the album Urban Legend and was pushing the King of the South identity harder than ever. Meanwhile, 50 Cent released The Massacre, another hugely successful project that reinforced his dominance in the rap industry. This created a natural rivalry. It wasn't simply about music anymore. It was about influence, markets, and who controlled certain spaces in the industry. concert venues, radio stations, and brand partnerships all became part of the bigger competition. Both men were expanding into other industries as well, including film and fashion. T.I. began moving into acting, eventually starring in the movie ATL, which further strengthened his connection to Atlanta culture. At the same time, he continued growing Grand Hustle as a full entertainment company. Meanwhile, 50 Cent was expanding Gunnet into multiple business ventures, including clothing lines, music labels, and film projects tied to his brand. When two powerful personalities try to dominate similar business spaces, tension is almost inevitable. According to various industry insiders, disagreements began to surface over things like tour schedules, event bookings, and artist placements in different cities. These conflicts weren't always public, but they created friction behind the scenes. The rivalry became even more complicated when both artists started signing talent from regions outside their original bases. T.I. wanted Grand Hustle to represent the entire Southern movement, while 50 Cent aimed to expand Gunnet beyond New York. As each label tried to grow nationally, territorial pride and business interests began clashing. Then the situation escalated further when 50 Cent made comments in interviews that some Southern artists interpreted as disrespectful. He questioned whether Southern rap had the same lyrical depth and authenticity as East Coast hip-hop. For many fans in the South, those remarks sounded like an attack on the entire region. For T.I., the issue wasn't just personal, it was cultural. He had spent years fighting for Southern hip-hop to be taken seriously. Hearing one of New York's biggest stars dismiss that movement felt like direct disrespect. In response, T.I. leaned even harder into his King of the South identity and made it clear that the region deserved respect. The tensions slowly began showing up in music. Instead of openly naming each other, both artists started releasing songs with lyrics that seemed aimed at their rival. Fans quickly noticed the references and began debating their meaning. Hip-hop media outlets and radio hosts fueled the conversation, analyzing every line for hidden messages. Behind the scenes, the rivalry also affected their teams. Members of Gunnet, including Lloyd Banks and Tony Yayo, reportedly took verbal shots at artists connected to Grand Hustle. In response, members of T.I.'s camp defended their label and questioned the unity within Gunnet. Tensions reportedly surfaced at various industry events. Award shows, album release parties, and club appearances sometimes placed the two camps in the same environment. According to people who attended those events, security teams occasionally had to step in to prevent situations from escalating into physical confrontations. As the rivalry continued, both artists began using commercial success as another way to compete. First-week album sales, chart positions, and radio play were all used as proof of dominance. In hip-hop culture, numbers often become a measure of respect, and both sides closely monitored each other's performance. At one point in the mid-2000s, the situation reached a particularly tense moment when both artists were scheduled to appear at the same major industry event. The potential for confrontation created serious concerns among promoters and executives. Extra security measures were reportedly put in place, and organizers carefully managed schedules to keep the camps separated. Despite attempts by some industry figures to calm the situation, neither side wanted to appear weak. In hip-hop culture, backing down from a challenge can damage an artist's reputation. Both T.I. and 50 Cent had built careers around projecting strength and confidence, which made compromise difficult. Over time, the rivalry became part of hip-hop history. Media outlets, magazines, and early internet forums kept the conversation alive, with fans choosing sides and debating who had the stronger career or the better music. Although the conflict eventually cooled down publicly, its legacy never completely disappeared. Years later, the story has resurfaced again, this time involving the next generation. With King Harris stepping into the conversation, what once seemed like a past rivalry has suddenly become relevant again. For T.I., this new development isn't just about old rap drama. It's about protecting the legacy he spent decades building and ensuring that the lessons he tried to pass down to his son aren't lost in the heat of internet controversy. Section 8, the next generation steps into the battle. Fast forward to recent years, and the long-running tension took an unexpected and risky turn when T.I.'s son, King Harris, stepped into the situation. The young artist, trying to follow in the footsteps of his father, T.I., and build his own name in hip-hop, released a diss track aimed directly at 50 Cent. The song quickly grabbed attention across the hip-hop community because of its aggressive tone. Many listeners felt the lyrics pushed the conflict too far, especially when King referenced 50 Cent's late mother, touching on a line that many artists believe should never be crossed in rap feud.
Nigga wanna say something about my mama. Your mama dead as fuck, nigga. Your mama dead as fuck. Go dig her up. Go dig her up. Fuck. Post a picture of your motherfucking mama, nigga. She dead, nigga. Pay respect, nigga. Stop fucking playing with my mama, nigga. Nigga ain't playing like that, nigga. Ain't.
Long-running tension between T.I. and 50 Cent had always been one of those rivalries that lived in the background of hip-hop culture. It was never the loudest or most explosive feud, but it carried weight because both men were powerful figures in the industry. Each had built an empire beyond music, each had loyal fans, and each commanded respect in different corners of the culture. For years, the situation remained mostly controlled, a competitive rivalry between two successful artists who understood the rules of the game. But everything changed when the next generation unexpectedly stepped into the spotlight. That moment came when King Harris, the son of T.I., decided to involve himself directly in the conflict. Young, ambitious, and determined to carve out his own identity in hip-hop, King released a diss track aimed squarely at 50 Cent. The move instantly grabbed attention across the hip-hop world. Many fans initially assumed it was simply a young artist trying to generate buzz, something that happens often when new rappers try to establish themselves. But the tone and content of the track quickly made it clear that this was more than just a publicity stunt or teenage rebellion. The lyrics were aggressive, confrontational, and deeply personal. King didn't just criticize 50 Cent's music or career. He took shots that many listeners believed crossed long-standing boundaries within hip-hop culture. One particular reference involving 50 Cent's deceased mother shocked a large portion of the community. In hip-hop, there has always been an unwritten rule that certain topics should remain off-limits, especially when it comes to family members who are no longer alive. Even artists known for ruthless diss tracks have historically avoided that line. By crossing it, King Harris created a situation far bigger than a simple rap battle. The move immediately divided the hip-hop community. Some younger fans viewed the diss as bold and fearless, arguing that hip-hop has always been built on competition and confrontation. To them, King was simply playing the same game that previous generations of rappers had played before him. But many veterans in the culture saw things very differently. To them, the diss track wasn't just aggressive, it was reckless. For them, the real issue wasn't just disrespect. It was the fact that King had directed that level of hostility toward one of hip-hop's most calculated and historically ruthless figures. 50 Cent built his entire reputation on never backing down from confrontation. Throughout his career, he had engaged in some of the most famous feuds in rap history, and often came out on top through relentless trolling, strategic responses, and a willingness to escalate conflicts. That reputation made King's decision feel extremely dangerous to many observers. This wasn't just another young rapper picking a random opponent. This was the son of 50 Cent's longtime rival publicly attacking him in a way that could easily provoke a response. The situation had layers of history behind it, and that made the entire hip-hop world pause to see what would happen next. But while fans and commentators focused on the potential reaction from 50 Cent, another important story was unfolding behind the scenes. The diss track didn't just affect the relationship between two artists. it created a complicated and deeply personal situation for T.I. himself. Instead of celebrating his son's bold move, T.I. suddenly found himself caught in an extremely difficult position. As a father, he wanted to support his child's ambition and independence. But as a veteran of the hip-hop industry, he also understood the consequences that could come from reckless decisions in a culture where reputation and respect carry enormous weight. Supporting King publicly could be interpreted as endorsing behavior that crossed a line many artists respected. On the other hand, criticizing his son openly could damage their relationship and expose private family tensions to the public. It was a classic conflict between parental responsibility and professional credibility. The situation highlighted one of the unique challenges faced by artists who achieve major success, and then watch their children attempt to follow the same path. Hip-hop is a competitive and sometimes volatile environment. Navigating it requires experience, patience, and a deep understanding of its unwritten rules. Younger artists, especially those raised around fame, may see the spotlight, but not fully grasp the risks that come with it. T.I. had spent years trying to teach his children about respect, boundaries, and the importance of thinking carefully before acting. In many interviews and public appearances, he had emphasized the difference between appearing tough and actually making wise decisions. For him, real strength involved discipline and awareness of consequences. That is why the situation with King Harris struck such a personal nerve. In footage that later surfaced online, T.I. spoke openly about how the situation made him feel. His tone was noticeably different from the confident, commanding presence fans were used to seeing. Instead of bravado, there was clear frustration and concern in his voice. He explained that he had spent years trying to guide his son away from reckless behavior and toward a more thoughtful approach to life and music. Watching King step into such a volatile situation felt, to him, like seeing those lessons challenged in real time. His words made it clear that he did not view the diss track as something to celebrate. Instead, he described it as a setback in the long process of teaching his son about responsibility and respect. The emotion in his voice revealed a side of the veteran rapper that fans rarely witnessed publicly, the side of a father who felt both protective and disappointed at the same time. What made the situation even more complicated was the dynamic within the Harris family itself. T.I. mentioned that his other son, Domani Harris, had taken a very different approach to life and music. According to T.I., Domani had always been calm, thoughtful, and focused on maintaining peace rather than escalating conflicts. That contrast highlighted the generational and personality differences within the same household. While King appeared eager to prove himself through confrontation, Domani represented a quieter and more reflective path. For T.I., that difference reinforced his belief that success in hip-hop requires more than talent or courage. It also requires wisdom. The veteran rapper explained that he had always tried to raise his children with a strong sense of respect. In his view, being respected by others begins with respecting boundaries and understanding the potential consequences of certain actions. That philosophy had guided his own career decisions for years. So seeing his son publicly engage in a conflict that could escalate unpredictably forced him to confront difficult questions about fatherhood, mentorship, and influence. The situation also sparked broader discussions within the hip-hop community about legacy and generational change. Many older artists understood exactly why T.I. was uncomfortable. They had witnessed the evolution of rap culture from street battles to global business empires.